I'm sorry. I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's.
Dear brothers and sisters,
they call themselves anonymous. They are hackers on steroids.
U.S. military forces can operate with impunity, overriding posse comitatus and granting the military the unchecked power to arrest, detain.
That right there is a recruitment video from the hacktivist group Anonymous. Yesterday, the FBI brought the total number of arrested members from the group and its subsection.
The passage of this law is nothing less than an outright declaration.
Anonymous and AnonSec have unleashed fury on a new entity.
There is something terribly wrong with this country, isn't there? Cruelty and injustice, intolerance and oppression, and where once you had the freedom to object, to think and speak as you see, if you feel as I feel, and if you would seek as I seek, then I ask you to stand beside one another. 1 year from November 5th, 2011, outside the gates of every courthouse of every city demanding our rights.
After September 11th, the national debate on the security of cyberspace has intensified. It has negatively influenced movements that rely on hacking or other anti-hegemonic forms of internet use, such as free access, open source, or privacy protection. Hackers and online political activists are now forced to defend themselves against being labeled by the authorities as cyber terrorists.
But very serious. They call themselves hacktivists, communicate via secure internet chat rooms, and in public protests hide their identities behind masks.
When we break laws, we do so in the service of civil disobedience. We do so ethically, we do it against targets who have asked for it.
Revolution can't happen by blowing up a building anymore, which is Al-Qaeda's problem, of course, right? 9/11 was a symbolic act, not just an act to kill a bunch of people. It was the symbol of destroying these huge buildings that was so important. For Anonymous, it's the same thing. When you take down Bank of America, or when you take down Julius Baer, those are really, really important attacks because of what they symbolize in terms of breaking down a powerhouse in the system, in the kind of global political capitalist system.
Now, the hackers group Anonymous obviously likes to stay undercover, but our next guest says that he has been associated with them for years. He says he speaks for the organisation and shares their views.
I started officially on a website called 4chan, and what that is was it was an image board, and people gradually came to realize that it was a tool to organize things.
Yeah. So where are you starting from?
Yeah, it's not a march or anything like that. We know that obviously if you want to make a protest, you have to agree, but we know it's not illegal as such to do that. If you do not...
Formed by combining hack with activism, hacktivism is the act of hacking into a website or computer system in order to communicate a politically or socially motivated message. Unlike a malicious hacker, who may disrupt a system for financial gain or out of a desire to cause harm, the hacktivist performs the same kinds of disruptive actions in order to draw attention to a cause. For the hacktivist, it is an internet-enabled way to practice civil disobedience and protest.
Anarchic. This is our state! A loose collective born on the internet, Anonymous has no official members and no hierarchy. But within the group, some individual Anons have greater standing, earned by their skills as hackers, video makers,
to see it with my own eyes and record it myself,
and increasingly street-level activists.
Anonymous's case, they chose the Guy Fawkes mask because it connects to Frank Miller's V for Vendetta. And in that case, the Guy Fawkes mask is a representation of a revolutionary, Guy Fawkes, who tried to blow up Parliament. Frank Miller used that Guy Fawkes mask as a way to represent a kind of decentered multitude of opposition against the movement towards neoconservative and neoliberal ideology in particularly British, but also, of course, American kind of geopolitics.
We also do some more severe things, though, once we start realizing the potential. If there's a CEO of a company who's cheating on his wife and who's also laundering money from all other corporations doing greedy things and we catch him, then we will hack his email and we will send it out to everyone. We will hack his website and we will do whatever how we want to it for Lowe's, but in the name of social justice. And this is where we get our criticism from, because people think that we do illegal things just for Lowe's, but really we're doing it in the name of protecting people and social justice. You know, we do it in the name of civil disobedience. So when we're breaking laws, we do it ethically.
Hackers were really a part of a DIY crowd with computer systems. So they were originally people that had worked in the industry, creating the internet, creating the hardware and software that we now know of as the internet. And they wanted to deviate from the norm. And that norm was usually something like a big company like IBM, Microsoft, Apple.
So the internet sort of started this on its own, simply by giving people open access. And in addition, it gave them much more mobility. Well, at some point in the movement, they always had to retreat back to the center and debrief and talk about what they're going to do. Well, when you have a movement that's internet-based, or at least the communication network channels of the movement are based on the internet or based in cell phones, then the entire movement can itself be mobile. So one day we might meet at one location, another day we might meet at a completely different location, where beforehand nobody knows where that location is going to be until we start sending out mass text to one another.
Desserteau says that that's an oppositional thing, that when you try to move outside of capitalist culture, move outside of established norms, that you are opposing those norms, at least on a personal level, and that the political is always based on the personal.
His campaigns, known as operations or ops, can be dramatic. In late 2010, a distributed denial of service attack took down the website of PayPal after the company cut off support for the online whistleblower site WikiLeaks. When they see evidence of what they believe is police misbehavior, Anonymous strikes back.
Successful nonviolent movements often use that repression, whether it's like, the kind of minor repression of designated a protest area, to more significant repression of putting people in jail or, pepper spraying someone.
Releasing personal information about specific officers.
And hopefully he'll think twice before he pulls out his baton against somebody who's holding a sign saying we just want peace.
Or, removing entire Occupy areas.
We're getting on Sony. It's warned PlayStation users about hackers. It uses personal information, including name, address, country, email, birthday. Sony's PlayStation network has around 70 million members worldwide, 3 million, as I said, in this country.
Their alleged involvement in the Sony PlayStation network hack is one of their most notable attacks, resulting in 77 million user accounts being taken from Sony.
Sony's argument? Well, the company claims that when they were investigating their servers post-hack, they found a planted file which read, "Anonymous" and "We are Legion," one of the group's mottos. And the electronics company also explains how their corporate websites were victim of a DDoS attack after they went after George Hotz, who released a code online to modify the PlayStation 3.
Howard Stringer has spoken publicly about the cyber attack on Sony's servers, defending the company's response time for alerting its customers as being faster than historic example. We believe that we first became the subject of attack because we tried to protect our IP, our content, in this case video games. These are our corporate assets, and there are those that don't want us to protect them. They want everything to be free. I think you see that cyber terrorism is now a global force, affecting many more companies than just Sony. If hackers can hack Citibank, the FBI and the CIA, and the video game company Electronic Arts, then it's a negative situation that governments may have to resolve.
They would, the hacking they would do would be kind of like denial of service stuff, where they would shut down federal websites and others, just as sort of a protest.
Bombard websites with many requests and try to shut them down that way. So hacking in the sense that spam might be hacking, which is a very different process. It's a kind of cultural opposition process based in kind of mass production with the tools of the system itself, rather than trying to subvert the system or break into the system.
The message could be the fact that this isn't adequately protected. If they can get access to it, it's not adequately protected. So.
I think hacktivism, if you will, is not in and of itself bad. So there's nothing in and of itself bad about getting onto the internet and disclosing information. What turns bad, it depends on, well, what information you're disclosing and for what purpose are you disclosing the information. Generally speaking, depending on what you're using the information for and what the information is, it could be used in a very positive, internet-based activist sort of way.
Hackers from the group Anonymous claim they stole thousands of credit card numbers and other personal information from the company and used it to make donations to charity.
Don't wait for your knight in shining armor to show up from DC. The bad news is he ain't coming. The good news is it turns out you're the knight in shining armor.
However, they can't just randomly launch an attack. And in order to do it, you have to go on this IRC chat. Anyone can suggest a target. And that person then has to make a compelling case for the target, and then whoever happens to be, it's a quorum of whoever happens to be awake, can vote up or down on this target. So if somebody has not made a compelling enough case, enough people may pull their computers off of this voluntary botnet that the attack might not be nearly as effective. So it is, in fact, an amazing kind of Athenian democracy.
The FBI today arrested top members of the hacktivist group LulzSec. The FBI in New York filed charges against 5 people, and it was made possible by this man, 28-year-old Hector Xavier Monsegur. Monsegur pled guilty to being a former member of the hacktivist group and is now working with the FBI.
Sabu, they're treating him in the same way that they would treat organized crime. I think there are some big differences. When you approach organized crime, you approach it, you get one person who gets you the next person up, who gets you the next person up.
He got caught this summer. He gets caught. People don't realize that he was arrested, and it's then that he was turned.
He was arrested. He actually did vanish for a while off of Twitter and other networks, and then he returned. He had quite a bit of trust from a lot of people. And so in some ways, his transition back was quite seamless.
No, I think journalists probably don't understand much of this, and they're doing the best they can. But I think it takes some technical skills that most journalists don't have to understand this stuff, so they do it in a shallow way.
They're probably hoping that by arresting these, they may get somewhere else later down the line to somebody who's much more sophisticated.
Now, I should say the readers prefer the shallow way too, but eventually there'll be more and more people who have the skills of hackers, and it'll become an ordinary skill, just like learning to read. But it's a generational thing and an educational thing. A lot of this stuff is taking place outside of formal schools of education, and these young people are teaching themselves, and they do have some older people working with them, but the best people are self-taught.
The most recent things that I did personally was I hacked the PBS website. And I posted an article saying Tupac was spotted alive in New Zealand. And the page was taken down immediately, but there are tons of screen captures.
Greetings, friends. We are Anonymous. On Thursday, September 1st, on Wall Street.
Threats from a gang of computer hackers calling themselves Anonymous.
I've had 7 different passwords and they've got them all so far.
They attack innocent people.
Do not say we did not warn you. We are Anonymous. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.